Okay, this is a piece by Abington artist Lucy Furlong. And an amazing chest that was handmade by Pat Smith.
Otherwise, it would use flash. It kills it. Oh, yeah. It kills it.
And this is a photography work that was done. All these pictures were taken at Ames Knoll State Park by Amy Norton.
I'll be right back.
We don't need to talk about them. Done by Kathy Bailey. These were done by Brenna Delory from Whitman.
This is Julie Miller, Sunflower. That's a watercolor. Sort of beautiful but unforgiving medium. It sort of scares me. And this is Pam, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. That's Rockport.
Motif
That's
1 in
Rockport,
Rockport.
Mass, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Julie Mullen, a chapel. And coming over to this side, we have the famous By the Light. And this is by Amy Norton. All of this work is for sale, or at least most of it. Some of it's not. But this is Sue Page Thompson. This is actually print. She's part of the Fourth Floor Artists, and that's the North River. And Paul Ray, Gunrock Beach. And this beautiful, oh, you want to say about this?
Well, this beautiful artwork is done by Joan Prawl, whose son is a wonderful videographer. This is her jewelry in both of these boxes.
And it was pointed out to me that she has a lot of little religious ornaments and little religious paintings on all of it, which I hadn't noticed before, but it's very, very beautiful. And this is Shirley McGann, who actually sublets the studio for me. And she does a lot of fiber work, different types of weaving. You name it, she does it. She's very, very, very clever, very knowledgeable. Desert Sunset.
This is a pastel, Desert Sunset, done by Allison Hogan. Over here, Laura Behan, The Sanctuary. This is also a pastel. And the same artist did Lakeside and acrylic.
This is Patricia Gray. She is a fourth floor artist as well. And this is done in oil. And it's called Sunspot. Out name for that. And this is a fourth floor artist, Kate Manning. And it's called Spring Meadow. It's very seasonable at this time of year.
This is done by William Curry. It's called Island Grove.
Yes.
Should be recognizable to Abington people. It's an oil and canvas. And Marianne Finneran, an acrylic named Peaceful Walkway.
Oh, I was just talking to Marianne. She knows my sister. Would you believe it?
This one, I think, is really very humorous. This is from Carolina Glenn, and it's called Children of Art Series 2.
Oh, isn't that nice? Are you covering her art or are you beside her?
It's very similar to another painting that went on. Marion Carlson, she is a fourth floor artist. It's called Morning Glory.
Marion's an Abington artist as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, many artists belong to more than one art association. And this is by Carolina Glenn, and it's called Children in Art Series 1. So the same sense of humor she has in both of them. And another fiber piece by Shirley McGann. It's all hand done, hand stitched.
And this mosaic bowl is by Lee Shea, and it's called Daisy in a Bowl. Scene up here is a wood piece done by Barbara Reeves of Abington. And Joe Wasberger did the striped bass. It's a wood carving. There's a beautiful stained glass piece by Jill Ikabuchi, and it's called Owl. We have some very interesting art here. This was done by Tim Bailey, who's an adjunct professor of art at Bridgewater, and it's done on a car hood, and it's named Blinded by the Sun, and obviously it was caused by someone blinded by the sun. All right, these whirligigs were done by Cliff Colby. This one is called Dock Sawing Wood. It's done in wood and metal. And the one next to it is Milking Time. And we have a small painting done in acrylic of Old Island Grove with a little canoe in it. And the artist for this, Karen Elliott, wanted us to sell this piece of artwork and take the proceeds as a donation to the Tricentennial Committee.
I'll take a moment to promote our event coming up if you don't mind.
Does my light bother you?
A little bit.
This is Fourth Fridays, an evening out done by fourth floor artists who are here. It's an up-and-coming event on May 25th from 7 to 9 at the Premier Art Outlet at the E.T. Wright Building in Rockland. And there will be information of that around the town and in Whitman's Regal liquor store. This is by Ami Ray, and that's an American goldfinch, and that is done in oil. And this one is by Pam Hawaja. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. And it's in French. Liberty you say it.
All right, done in acrylic.
And it's in an acrylic.
And we have Flower Vase by Dorothy Hammer, done in pastel.
You get the easy one.
I planned it that way. Okay, it's my turn. Ellen McDonald of Abington did A Resting Place, which is a watercolor.
And this is by another fourth floor artist. This is by Kathleen Mullins McGahill, and it's called Lovey Dovey. It's a monoprint. And I do know she loves to pull items out of what she's printed, and you can see she has little hidden birds everywhere on there.
And we have a watercolor by Barbara Packard called Madeline.
This is another fourth floor artist. This is Josie Lawrence, who is right over there.
This is Josie right here.
And this is done in oil on linen, and it's called Cranberry Nut Loaf Bread. Yum, yum, yum. And this is another fourth floor artist. This is actually done by myself, Kathy Dugan, and it's called Stepping Out. And it was my niece. Yeah.
And the next one, again done by Josie Lawrence, is Cranberry Muffins.
They were delicious.
That's good. All right, this is Blue Iris done by Marie Peters, and it's a photograph. Marie is also one of the coordinators of the event.
And this is Diane Pinarelli Miller. It's called Peace and Quiet, and it's in oil.
And we have Snowbirds by Kathy McDonough, and it's a watercolor.
before you take any, let me get it.
All right, here we have a lovely Abington landmark, Donald Dacier Bridge to the Past in oil.
This is Helen O'Keefe, and it's called Queen of the House, obviously probably a cat. And that one is done in pastel.
We have another watercolor entitled Plymouth Harbor, done by Dorothy Hamner.
And this is Patricia Isaac. It's called Early Spring, and it's oil pastel.
And Patricia was also one of the coordinators of the event. This is an oil amaryllis made by Linda Schatz. And photography done by Tamara Flanagan, On the Edge. Aptly named.
Yes. This is, let me see what she named
It's
it.
entitled Goat.
By Maggie McClellan, Margaret McClellan, and she's a self-taught sculptor for the most part, and it's paper mache.
It has drawn a lot of notice.
Yes.
All right, this is
Paul Creamy.
Paul Crimmy, a black and white acrylic called Birch Trees.
We actually show him painting that on cable. He has his own cable show.
Yeah, he does have his own cable show, I know that. And this is Mary E. Porter. It's a set of Madonna, Michael, Elvis, and Marilyn, and it's done in acrylic. And then we have, by the same artist, Mary Porter, and we have a larger Madonna.
And over here we have an acrylic on canvas done by Paul Crimmy called World's End.
And here we have photography by David Spencer called, it's untitled, but it's a household item that probably only the older generation would know what it is.
Thank you, it's a meat grinder.
Well, it cools myself.
This is an artwork that's also drawn a lot of attention. This is Island Grove Bridge, which should be familiar to everyone in Abington. Memorial Bridge Abington is the name of it. It's a watercolor on canvas done by Helen Correa. The other side. We do the other side. We have an acrylic sunset at Reed's Pond done by Marianne Finneran.
And this is by Linda Schatz, and it's called Monarch Butterfly, and it's an oil. So it looks like
And Janet Cunningham did Cape Cod National Seashore in pastel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. So, and anyway, just what do you
And this is acrylic. It's called Natalie, Shelter from the Storm, and that is also by myself, Kathy Dubin.
And Charles McEachran did Serenity in oil. Bill Ikabuchi did the acrylic painting Owl.
And is that the same person that did the stained glass to the owl?
I have to look at my, it looks
Very
like
similar in
it's,
appearance.
yeah.
Maybe a different name. And this is Helen M. Correa window view, and it is watercolor on paper.
And the next one is a digital photograph, Canal Home in Burano, Italy, done by Matt Delaney, who happens to be right here.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Camera.
You're videotaping my empty plate. You should have videotaped the full plate.
And our next artwork is by
Mary Callahan, fourth floor artist. It is a watercolor and it's called, I think it's Sienna Balcony or Sienna Balcony. Probably a spot she was, maybe France or
Well, I think
Italy.
Sienna, Italy.
I think
Sienna,
it's
Italy.
Italy.
These antique
Okay.
pieces that went back to even before slavery.
All right, and this is an acrylic also done by Matt Delaney called Promise of Spring. And we have by Karen Elliott an acrylic entitled Met Dad in Ireland.
And this is by Helen O'Keefe, also a fourth floor artist. It's called Jenny Farm, Vermont, and it's a pastel. This is by Francine Ethier, and it's called Fall Palette, and it's acrylic on masonite.
And Francine also did Spring Bounty, which is also acrylic on masonite. And by Holly Dacier, we have Pink Blue, and it's a watercolor.
On top is another fourth floor artist, Kate Manning. It's called Jonquils and Glass with Beach Stones, and it's pastel. And on the bottom, a friend of mine, Ann Conte, called Meadow Flutters, and it's a monotype print.
And next one is by Dottie Cameron, named a street in Italy, and it's done in pastel. The pastel, entitled Three Sisters, done by Janet Coonahan.
And this is by Maida Antiqua, and it's called Cohacid, and this is pastel. Maida loves dramatic skies. And this is Donald Dacier, also fourth floor in oil, and it's called Beach Pines, Island Grove.
And over here by Pat Isaac, we have Mildred, which is an oil pastel.
It is cute. And this is by Marty Bowman. It's called Spruce, and it's pastel and pencil.
Another Abington landmark, Days of Yore, done by Ron Brake, and it's a watercolor.
Interesting.
And we have a black and white photograph done by Alex Hochstrasser entitled Warm Yourself.
I looked over and I said, oh my God.
And this is by Paul Carley. It's called Harbor Lights. It's acrylic. He's also a fourth floor artist, and he likes to do a lot of sort of surreal type paintings.
And our final piece is by Maida Antigua. It's entitled Butterfly, and it's a silver print.
Okay, stay there, guys.
For taking a look at our arts show, a celebration of the arts to celebrate the tricentennial.
And it's an amazing, wonderful variety of artists and different perspectives and different viewpoints, and it's beautiful.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Because there's artichokes there. Beauty of New York. Yeah. Beauty of New York. Oh, I thought you were in 20 years old.
Want to see the back?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Right. So is that, what is this over here then?
Excuse me.
That's, but then it's got like
Yes.
so the stitching is that twist?
Education today.
Yeah. And how much of it I will remember is anybody's guess. Like this one.
Ooh, that's a good camera. Are you here for the town?
Yes.
Oh, great. Let me see the I did this one and
Let's do it. Let's do it. I already went through.
I have someone for you. So this is Pat Delaney and Sherry.
Hi.
Actually, I met one of the other gals over there, and we both had the same Oh, art? Yeah, because I had John Keller for I have over there. Yes, yes. I'm just getting back to it. I used to do stuff back in college, and I did restoration for a company for 20 years, and then I left that. I decided to go back. And I oh, thank you. Thank you.
All these things, I guess they made these. And then so they brought them along, we put them together and.
Well, I think you're right.
I know he was gonna take it.
No, I
I
think,
know we had to talk to him.
no, but I mean, she will, when he's ready to. Oh, yeah. Oh, she should.
And then we'll go out and drink.
Yeah, you're just gonna put it on public access, so. Yeah, she's doing it for Comcast. Beautiful, my dear. Oh, too bad you don't have a tiara. I know. What was I thinking? We can see if there's a piece of jewelry now. Oh, Matt. Call Matt. He says a tiara. Call Matt.
We went years ago to a fundraiser at Kirkland's Week of the Blind, and you buy so many chances or whatever, the women buy little princess tiaras. So I got one, and my sister got one. She has twin girls, so we had to send my mother out to buy tickets so she could get one. So.
Okay, I'm Pat Delaney, and I'm from Abington, and I'm a member of the Thimbles and Friends Quilt Guild, and this is our quilt display. It's a smaller version of our quilt show that we put on every 2 years. This is for the tricentennial celebration for the town of Abington. Also includes Whitman and Rockland because they were part of Abington originally. So all of our quilters live in various towns, but let me walk you through and just show you a few of the quilts. These two quilts both belong to Joyce Huckstresser, who's from Whitman, and she's kind of doing a different direction. She did very traditional quilts, and these are a little more contemporary, and we just love the colors of these quilts. This one was made by Paula Whalen of Whitman. This was made for her grandchildren, so you'll see their names in some of the blocks. It's a little applique quilt, and it's a child's quilt with all the different vehicles on it. So really a fun quilt for some little kids. Over here are the smaller quilts that we have in the show, and we have many, we have 40 members, and they're in all different levels of accomplishment. So we have some of our beginner quilters and some of the more experienced quilters. These are miniature wall quilts done in paper piecing for the mariner's compass on the bottom. This quilt chronicles the 140 different colors of Ginny Buyer fabrics that are available, so it's kind of a great learning tool. This is one of my favorite quilts. This is by Shirley McLeod of Abington, and it's called Selvage Obsession. Salvages are the edges of fabric that quilters normally would throw away. Shirley saves and begs and borrows from everybody in the guild and has organized them by the wording on the edge of the quilt and by the color dots, which show the colors that's screened onto the particular fabric. She's got it very organized there, so kind of a cute quilt. Chris Trifelder's Pembroke, Josephine Abbott Brockton. These are piece quilts, pretty extensive quilting on them. And over here we get into some of the larger quilts. This is my friend Louise Wilson from Kingston. She makes quilts and gives them to people. So a lot of our quilters are very generous with their quilts and don't always have a lot of quilts to put on display because they've been given for gifts on various occasions. This is kind of an unusual quilt. This is done, it's called the Grandmother's Flower Garden. This is Jill Lilly of Hanson. All these little octagonal pieces in here are put in individually, and she has a three-dimensional butterflies. This guy. And a beautiful coral quilt by Joanne Frizzetti. We have a mother and her three daughters that belong to the guild. I call them the pod. But they make more quilts than you can imagine between the four of them. This is my quilt called Sugar Maples and Nose Stickers. I do a lot of competition quilts. It takes me a year to make each one, and I send them to shows around the country, and I just enjoy getting the feedback from the judges and trying to figure out a way to make something unusual that the judges haven't seen before. So that keeps me busy. The different thing on this quilt is the edging. It's got a cording that's put on individually piece by piece with a curled tip on it. I do all my quilting by machine on a home machine. And we have all different types of quilters. We have some hand quilters. Most of the quilters now do some sort of machine work. I don't think I could live long enough to do my quilts by hand, so a year is long enough. So come on over on the other side. Quilt back here is also my quilt. This quilt has gone to a lot of different shows and has really won some very nice awards, mostly for machine quilting. And there's a lot of thread in there. There's about 30 different colors of cream-colored fabrics. There's 9 different red fabrics. And there's about 15 different colors of thread. And it takes me as long to quilt the top as it does to piece the top. So once I get the top together, I'm only halfway there. This is Rose Perry from Abington. This one is hand quilted. She does really beautiful hand quilting. The center medallion is, I'm not sure, she did paper piecing. It's hand pieced anyways and hand quilted. So really beautiful if you can get a little close up with the stitches in there. She was really nice. They look to see that the stitches are very nice and even. It doesn't matter how big or how small the stitches are, is if they're consistent and even. So that's what they would be looking for. This is again Shirley McLeod, and it's called Out of the Trash. And I can probably find some of my fabrics there. She follows us around at retreats when we're done with our fabrics and they get thrown into the trash bin. She figures that's her, everything's free and clear from there, and she can help herself. So she made 2 quilts like this out of our scraps that were leftovers. I'd have to study that a little bit, but I know I have fabric in there. And this is Paula Whalen. Paula makes a lot of quilts for her grandchildren, and this was little pieces of motif fabrics. Motif fabrics have small designs on them, and it's sort of a Where's Waldo type of quilt, where you would make it for a young child and then have questions of where's the bee, where is the fish, and it would be amusing because they would be able to look at the quilt and see all of the little pictures that are on the quilt. So, up here. another one of Jill Lily's. This one's called the Carpenter's Star, and she has done. She has a friend that machine quilted it for her, but she did all the piecing. And this is very traditional fabrics. So I love to look at a show because you see such a wide range of fabric styles, colors, designs, and that's what makes quilting so interesting, is that it's not one formula for everybody. It's whatever you want to make, and we all enjoy collecting fabrics and seeing what we can create from what we've collected. One over here.
Hey!
TV.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Cut that out.
This is Joan Teal from Abington, and her quilt, she has a little sashiko stitching in the center here, which is a traditional Japanese type of quilting with a heavier thread and larger stitches. And she's used an Asian motif and Asian fabrics, and these are indigo type fabrics around the outside, which would be very traditional Asian. So I love that quilt. It's different from a lot of the quilts in the show. This one's called Life in a Northern Town. This was one of my students. She did many different types of quilting in the snowball blocks, which is these here with the little corner cut to make the round design, and you'll see each block is quilted differently. Some beautiful fabrics in here. Very extensive quilting in this one. This is Chris's again from Pembroke, and she's used very traditional fabrics from Civil War type of design fabrics, and she's done some really nice quilting in this one. We have a little jacket. This was made by Josephine Abbott. She lives in Brockton, and it's got really pretty gold cording and some really nice cording around the lapels, and beautiful colors of yellow and blue, and all different pattern designs in there. She's liked it hanging next to the blue quilt. This is Jean Aurelio's from Cohasset again, and there's a lot of really nice feather designs quilted in. It's called Feathers, and that's a very traditional sort of quilting design, and machine quilters love doing this because it's very flowing and really leads your eye around the quilt and gives it a lot of dimension. She put the center piece, which is a paper pieced Mariner's Compass, and it's set off by the blue snowball blocks. Susan Morchel of Rockland made Williamsburg Memories, and she was a beginning quilter when she joined the Guild. She learned how to do machine quilting. She's done all this nice machine quilting in here, and these are printed fabrics with the different Williamsburg motifs. Kathy Hodges. You know him. This is a machine piece quilt. These are batik fabrics. They're hand dyed in Bali, or Indonesia. And quilters love these fabrics because they're very tightly woven and they have beautiful designs with many different colors. And she hand quilted her quilt. Another one of my quilts. To Everything There's a Season. This quilt is a traditional pineapple block. Here, this would be the block. That square right there. And there's very extensive quilting in the border. There's applique with satin stitch edging. There's a lot of machine embroidery. These little flowers were machine embroidered separately and then added in the center, so they look a little bit three-dimensional. And then there's a lot of thread painting and just a lot of different designs in the border. And I like to do a little, very tiny cording trim that just sets off the colors a little bit. Nancy Moynihan from Whitman did boxes, Red Raiders, and Panthers, and she has used some really beautiful deep color fabrics. This is machine pieced and machine quilted, and this is a bed quilt. Some of these are not necessarily bed quilts, some of them are wall quilts. Some of the small pieces are used on tables as runners or table decor. My quilts are generally wall quilts, but this is a beautiful example of a bed quilt. The basket quilt is Joanne Donovan. She's from Abington also. And Joanne is very prolific. She makes one quilt after another, but she tends to give them away too. So I thought this was a beautiful coloration in this quilt, and it's all little individual baskets. And she's done some beading in the border. In the centers of the flowers, she's hand-applied beading. Remember I mentioned the Grandmother's Flower Garden. They're the little octagonal, individually shaped pieces. They're made on paper. It's called English paper piecing. And you can see the little octagon shape. And this one is hand quilted and hand appliqué. Traditionally machine pieced, but this is a very traditional old pattern that a lot of people enjoy making while they're riding in the car because they don't need their sewing machine to put them together, and they just have a little plastic bag and they can make one block at a time, and before they know it they have a whole bed quilt made. Another one of Paula Whalen's. She has its twin on the other side in a different color. This is for her granddaughter. And she loves to use a lot of black and white fabrics in her quilts. So she's used the hot pink to accent the black and white. And if you look, every block is a different fabric and a different design. Blacks and whites. Jill Lilly made this little Tempest in a teapot, which this has gotten a lot of attention at the show. It's really adorable. She's picked her favorite fabrics to make the teapot body and contrasting for the handles and the spout. She's used some of her favorite hankies she's had and little doilies. This one has a tag from a real tea bag. And she's embroidered the names of her friends that she quilts with. And she put on there Friends Quilting 2007. So it was just a way to commemorate all her quilting buddies and use up some of her favorite fabrics. This is an interesting one. This was Jill Lilly's also. She bought the top, it was unfinished, and she put the batting and the backing on and quilted it. And it's an antique top, so you can see the quilt maker got so far, ran out of the background fabric, and improvised by adding another fabric in these blocks. This is Paula Whalen's other quilt with black and white fabrics, and she's used teal and lime green in this one. So it gives it a whole different look, but it's the same block, same black and white fabrics. She machine quilts all her quilts. Louise Wilson of Kingston, The Colors of Autumn. Louise loves oranges, so a lot of her quilts have orange and warm colors in them. And this just is a sampler of the many fabrics that we tend to collect, and at some point we try to use up somewhere. It never works. We always end up buying more to finish the quilt and end up with more than we started with. Josephine Abbott's basket quilt. This is a traditional block also. Basket. She's done hand quilting. See the hand quilted butterflies. And there she's got a very nice fluffy batting in hers. And I love this one. This is Joanne Donovan of Abington again, and this is a large quilt for a bed. It's got a pillow topper on the top, so the design is a little bit different than the body of the quilt, because that will go on the rest of the bed, and those will go over the pillows on the top. All machine quilted and machine pieced. And this one is Lee's Units from Brockton. And I'm especially proud of Lee's because Lee's had never threaded a sewing machine when she came to me to take classes. And this is the first quilt that she ever quilted. So generally someone would start with a table runner, but Lee's wanted a king-size bedspread. So she was determined, and I think she did a beautiful job, and it goes on her bed. And the last one is my quilt again, and this is called the Beauty of New York Blooms again. And this quilt to me is very special to Abington because I had made one block the day before 9/11. I had started it, and the name of this block is New York Beauty. It's based on the spikes on the crown of the Statue of Liberty in New York. So it's a very old block. And when 9/11 happened, I was in my studio with my TV on, and this was the quilt that I was working on. It just coincidentally happened to be the New York Beauty block. So I remember exactly what was happening, what I was watching, and what I was doing on my quilt. It took me a year to make. I put the last stitch in on the first anniversary of 9/11. And I put a very large label on the back because I want the story to stay with the quilt. And the label tells the story of 9/11, and particularly of the Coombs family from Abington, and what it meant to all of us in town. So I like the idea that the quilt is more than just fabric. The quilt, it has a story behind it, and the story is as important as the design of the quilt. So I enjoyed that.